In this video, I want to go over a few writing quality guidelines for SEO because now more than ever and in the future, user experience is going to impact your SEO. If people are not reading, if they don't have high what's called dwell time, meaning they dwell on your site, they stay, they read, if that's not a part of their experience, if they just click and leave, Google is not going to rank your site as well because they want to see that people are having a good experience on your site. So when you're creating pages, whether they're sales pages or content pages like blog pages or pages that talk about your services, depending on what the page is, if it's about some topic, would you like to read it? Meaning, is it interesting? Is it compelling? Would it be interesting if you were the reader? Does it pass that common sense test? Because a lot of website owners, they write some text that, blah, 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 just filler text or kind of okay text, or they hire some copywriter who doesn't know that niche deeply, and they end up with mediocre writing, and it's not that interesting for people. And so people are like, okay, whatever, I'm going to skip it. And so the visitors of your site have this reaction where they're like, okay, I'm just going to skip it because it's boring and it's not that helpful. And, they end up not sticking around. The content just doesn't grab them. So you want to make sure that now, this is important, the content has to grab them or it will have a disadvantage in SEO. Plus, is the site focusing on a niche topic or topic clusters? Meaning you might have cooking and lifestyle, but at least both should be strongly covered and it shouldn't jump around like sports, cooking, spaceships. If it's too much of that jumping around, unless it's a news site, then Google's not going to like that. So there should be a niche focus and ideally a cluster focus, meaning like if it's cooking, it should be deeply cooking about some specific thing and many ways to cover that specific thing. Like if you're grilling meat, well, what about the sauces? What about the seasonings? What about the temperatures? What about the equipment? I mean, there's so much to say. You can have so many different pages about it. That would make for a fascinating website. And each of those articles should be interesting in itself, should have something unique and interesting to say. It shouldn't be the 1000th article on this topic online that doesn't have particularly anything new in it. So, is it written by an expert with unique ideas? That's the point. If it's not that person writing, if you're randomly hiring some copywriter, what are they going to do? They're going to go online to see other sites and they're going to essentially just rehash the same old ideas into a new article, which is not really going to help anybody because there's no point of that. But if you're really an expert, if you really have unique viewpoints, that will make for interesting content that gets shared, that gets links, all those things, if it passes that threshold of it's really good and interesting. Now, it shouldn't only be interesting, it should be also readable in big enough font with lots of white space between lines. Reading online is not the same as reading a book. It's not easy to read on the screen. It's sometimes even harder to read on the phone because it's even smaller. So you have to have smaller paragraphs. I, these days, just have paragraphs like if it's 3 sentences, even if the next sentence is part of that same paragraph, I just break up the text with some white space. I just create more and smaller paragraphs, and that makes the text more readable. And I make the font a little bigger just to make it easier on the reader so that it doesn't hurt their eyes and they don't have to strain to read. Also, for them not to strain, it's recommended that you use subheadlines for easy skimming. Many people will not want to read every detail, but they will want to get benefit from the article. So they need subheadlines to direct them so that they can find the right section of the page that's of interest to them. That will also be the kind of thing that gets them to stay and read rather than not finding what they need and leave. And of course, part of the writing of the page, is there a strong opening that captures attention, including a strong page title that explains exactly what they're going to get and compels them and perks their interest? Those actual writing issues, right? This isn't directly SEO, but they impact your SEO and they're very important today and moving forward. So now when you're writing content, definitely focus on this checklist. And I want to show you what I mean by creating white space. Look at this blog post. It's not my blog post, but it's a great blog online. Look at how much white space there is between paragraphs. This takes it to an extreme. Look, this is just one, not even a full line. Then he creates a new paragraph. Then he adds an image, new paragraph, new paragraph. You see, headline so people can skim easily. And by the way, a table of contents for the page so people can find things easily. Then a new paragraph, one line per sort of new line, right? One line, one line, one line. This is kind of awkward writing. Like if you're a traditional writer of a book or articles or essays, this would seem a little strange to you. But this just makes it easy for people to read. And if it's easier for people to read, then they engage with your content more. And Google likes that. They interpret that as a quality signal. And that actually helps your SEO. Not to mention the people who are actually on this page, they might read it and they might get to the place where you're suggesting something, you're selling something. So you'll actually have a higher conversion of visitors buying whatever you want. So try that and use that checklist to write your content from now on.